Hi boys and girls, R1 here. I have been doing a variety of videos on War Thunder gameplay, as well as a few other games, but I've decided that I'm going to do something a little bit ambitious. At least it's ambitious for me. I'm going to try and provide a series of videos, starting with Tier 1, Battle Rating 1, and cover everything available, starting with all the vehicles available both on the ground and in the air for the tank battles in realistic mode for War Thunder. It's going to take a long time to canvass all these vehicles, and they'll have to be constantly updated, of course, as new vehicles become available. I had originally decided that I was not going to do the T-26 reserve tank for the Russians in any of my videos. Not for the Germans or when the Americans, when they become available, or any of the nations. I thought, well, everyone starts out in that. There are no choices to be made. You're going to be in that tank or in those reserve aircraft no matter what you do. But, you know, it occurred to me that people might have some questions about, well, what can I really do in this thing? It seems pretty useless. And they are difficult to use. If you stick with them, you can develop them into fairly effective machines. Most people don't, however. They get into them just long enough to get enough experience points to get into the next tank or airplane in the tier. They usually don't play the tank or airplane long enough to actually start fitting very many modules to it, unless they happen to have a really, really good match the first time out. And for a lot of folks, that just doesn't happen. They get pummeled and they say, oh my God, this sucks. And I've got to get out of it as quickly as I possibly can. And I don't blame them. But if you do happen to play around with it for a little while, they can actually be kind of fun. Surprisingly fun, actually. This first match is on Kuban. Of course, realistic mode. Mixed tanks and airplanes. I haven't played this tank at this point more than maybe 2 or 3 matches. I have unlocked better ammunition. The BR-243 SP. It's an armor-piercing shell with 61 millimeters of penetration at 10 meters out to 25 at 2,000 meters. It's actually just a step up from what you get as default ammunition. And of course you also have some HE shells, which I keep a few of those on hand just to take out anti-aircraft batteries, which is always something that you should try and do when you can. Always take care of your teammates in the air, because you may end up in the air sooner than later yourself. At the start of this match, I simply move up into position, hopefully in a position to support my teammates. I've got a T-28 to my left and a T-26 mod 1939 ahead of me. I'm just going to try and play a support role until I get used to this tank a little bit more and get used to the new ammunition. I'm going to kind of save that ammunition. It's a little higher penetration, but I want to use it only when I come up against something that I can't penetrate with my default ammo. Anyway, you will see me occasionally taking a few exploratory shots against the anti-aircraft. Still trying to get used to the ranges, fall of the shots with this particular gun. NPC tank just wandered right in front of me, and I got a really good hit right off the bat on him. And then go back to a couple of ranging shots here and there. Now I see woodsmen right around the corner to my left, so I'm trying to sneak around so I can get a good shot on him. Help out my teammates over there. Remember woodsman, because we'll be seeing him again a little bit later. These are going to be tricky shots, but if I can get it to drop right over the edge of that hill between me and him, I'll be able to hit him. Hopefully he won't even know where it's coming from. few misses here and there too, bouncing off his turret, I think. But I get his range. Well, that worked out. And with default ammo, it's really not that bad. Can't afford any distractions right now. I've got an enemy player tank right ahead of me. Mueller. I'm going to take a shot or two with default ammo, but then I'm going to switch to my upgraded ammo. I'm having a little trouble penetrating the front of his tank, and that's going to give me a little extra kick I think I need. He's going to fall back over that ridge line, get out of my line of fire, unfortunately. So, after a couple of shots, I'm going to go ahead and move forward and try and get on his flank. And I do have another tank supporting me on my left. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. T-26 is many things, but it's not fast. Now, Mueller has vacated the area. He's headed off to the left. However, it's not our old friend Woodsman up ahead. Seriously, it's nothing personal, Woodsman. I just kept running into you. I was kind of distracted, and I noticed somebody spawned in ahead of me. I did not notice at the time that it was Woodsman again. Sorry, buddy. And I'm pretty sure that effectively takes Woodsman out of this match. We'll pause long enough to take a shot at that AA battery over there. My first shot is right on, but then I decide to switch to high explosive to be a little bit more efficient about taking it out. That's what that ammunition is for. You'll notice how much more drop high explosive ammunition has. I had to adjust upward considerably to drop those shells on target. It's a lot trickier, and it's something to be aware of. I've decided that I've done all I can over here, and I'm going to head toward the unsecured base to try and hurry things up a little bit. The ticket counter is just about to start dropping pretty rapidly. Not everyone is gone, but things are far enough gone to the point where this match is effectively over. Well, things turned out pretty well for me. 6 kills and a reserve tank. Not too shabby. As I start my next match, I begin to realize that I was having a fair amount of fun with this little reserve tank, which, to be perfectly honest, I didn't expect. I kind of thought that when I did this particular tank that I would be cobbling together a bunch of very brief clips and try and make something moderately entertaining out of it, and that I would have to play a lot of different battles to get the footage I need for this particular entry, but it's done surprisingly well. It was kind of fun. Now, this particular battle doesn't end up very well, but it gave me an interesting opportunity. A few minutes into the battle, I end up getting caught out in the open, trying to cross over toward one of the bases that is at risk, and I end up getting sniped. But it does give me the chance to jump into one of the reserve aircraft that I have. As you can see, I have all of the tier, all of the tier 1, battle rating 1 aircraft and tanks that are available to you in the Russian lineup. So we jump into the I-15 WR. That's the very most basic airplane you can get in the Russian line. It carries a couple of, I believe, 50-kilogram bombs, and it's got a couple of small caliber machine guns. But it is fairly maneuverable. Things are going from bad to worse. By the time I get down over the field of battle, I see one of my teammates exiting the arena with the smoke trailing out from behind. And I move in to try and find a suitable target. Looks like a couple of NPC tanks have just taken that base ahead of me. I'll fly over for a little closer look. Some anti-aircraft fire over to the left has caught my attention, but I did notice a player tank near the base that just got taken as well. I lose sight of the AA gun, but I can flip around and head back for that player that I spotted. Now, to be honest, I suck at bombing without a bombing reticule, but I've been practicing, refined my technique, and managed to land them right on top of the guy. Panzer III, down for the count. This little biplane isn't exactly ideal for ground attack, but it managed to inflict some damage. I felt pretty good about that kill. That fella had been laying down covering fire to keep my team from killing the NPC tanks that took our base. I decided to go ahead and go for a couple of targets of opportunity, clear out a little AA, help my teammate out there that was in the air with me, and any more that might arrive, although it's not looking like it's going to make a lot of difference. Anyway, to try and make their life a little easier when they got back. Well, remember that guy that I bombed, Barjaz? Yeah, he's coming back. He jumped in a plane. He's coming after me. I'm pulling away right now because I want to get him over our AA if I possibly can. Every little bit helps. And it looks like my one of my teammates is engaging him over there too. So I decide I'm going to take a couple of quick shots before I engage him. That decision almost got me killed. My strategy of pulling him over our AA is going to pay off. But unfortunately, it's going to steal my kill when it doesn't. Well, although it still looks a bit grim, I'm going to try and do as much damage as I can, wherever I can, and contribute as much as I can before this match ends. Eventually, after several semi-successful strafing runs, where I at least inflict some damage, they are going to catch me with anti-aircraft fire, and I'm going to burst into flames, and this plane's going to go down. But I'm not done yet. So I jump into the second of my 3 tanks that I get since this is a reserve tank, and I make a mad dash for the cap. Firing on the move. It's kind of a nice shot. Now, even at this point, I knew that our chances of actually turning this around were slim to none. But I'm going to pull out every trick in the book that I can think of, including this artillery strike, to turn the tide. Even though I realize that it's probably just a futile gesture. They may win, but they're going to know they were in a hell of a fight. No time to screw around with sniping. I've got to get in that base. Okay, I'm in, but the enemy are closing in from all sides, and there's not a lot of cover here except for this pillbox. We're just going to have to do what we can. Great. Artillery called into my position. I know I'm a sitting duck, but I don't care. This was a great fight. And finally, I'm going to show you some excerpts from what ended up being a rather lengthy battle, so it's going to be edited fairly heavily to keep this video from being a little too long. It does start out pretty well, though. One of the enemy spawn points is just on the other side of this canyon, and they have to come along that road right there to advance on this side. I consider for a minute just camping right here to catch anyone coming out of that spawn, but, well, the chances of being a important contribution to the battle are kind of limited if I do that, so I decided to move on down. I don't advance very far before I spot an enemy, Vakrin, I believe is his name, and we begin to engage in sort of a sniper's duel with mixed results. We managed to tear each other up pretty good, and we both have fair cover to use to our advantage as well, which we're about to do here in just a second. It comes down to more or less a game of trying to keep your armor angled and use the cover as effectively as you can. Trying to find just the right angle to hit this guy and still remain behind cover as much as possible is trickier than you might think. I end up beating the snot out of this hillside almost as much as I end up damaging him. I force him to move with an artillery strike. I'm hoping to put in the killing blow before he can find new cover. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. I almost jump right back in another tank to go engage that guy again, but then I decide against it. I'm going to go ahead and get into a plane, and I skip over the one that I had already flown and jump into the I-15 M22. It's virtually identical to the first plane that I flew. It's also a reserve aircraft, armed identically with two 50-kilogram bombs and the light machine guns. But I thought, well, let's cover as much ground as we can in this video, and I'll show you that it does just about as well as the I-15 WR. Now they are in the process of capping one of the bases, but we're not in too bad a position. The battle is fairly even. We have a slight edge. So I've got a target picked out ahead of me, and I'm going to go ahead and go for that. Two 50-kilogram bombs. I have found that if you don't have a targeting reticule and you're in a fighter, the technique for this that works best for me anyway is put your crosshairs directly on your target, and then just as you start to pull up, release the bomb. It tends to follow the trajectory that you were on, dropping just slightly. And since I've started doing that, it's worked out fairly well for me. I'm starting to hit stuff for a change. I had found that I'd gotten in a bad habit of coming in at too shallow of an angle, and if you come in too flat, it doesn't work as well. That last bombing run was actually a little bit more shallow than I probably should have come in at, but it worked out. But if you come in at a fairly steep angle, your accuracy isn't too bad. Now I get into an ongoing duel with anti-aircraft weaponry down there. It's a Flak Panzer and something else running around down there. And it goes on for quite some time, so I'm going to cut out of this in just a second. I don't really recommend in these lighter planes, especially with their light armament, engaging in machine gun duels with flak cannons, because eventually it's going to end badly. Case in point. So I jump into my second tank. Now, I did some damage with my little strafing runs, and of course I did take out one of the enemy with my bombs, but I achieved a couple of more important things. When they were firing at me, they were giving away their positions. And not only was that able to inform me where they were, which I'm going to use to go and find them, it also let my team know exactly where they were as well, as they fired long strings of tracers up into the air, pinpointed their position. We're going to take that information now and use it to my personal advantage. Right after I figure out how to get there. The view from the air is a lot different from the view on the ground. Even the maps appear almost completely different, so it takes a bit of getting used to. As I finally arrive, General Stonewall and my team has found and engaged the enemy. Our old friend Vakran from earlier in this video. I managed to help take him out, which was fairly satisfying. As I move forward to help General Stonewall, I notice that he appears to be engaged in a sniper duel all of his own. He is actually engaging someone in the enemy base, and I believe it's one of the gentlemen that I was dueling with while I was in my plane. I need to go help him out and cover his flank, see if I can circle around behind this guy. Now I realize I just described this gentleman's position as in his base. More specifically, he's in the enemy spawn point. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of spawn camping, if you want to put it that way, but they do have a period of invulnerability where they're perfectly safe and can turn around and blast you when you do that sort of thing. So sometimes it's a viable tactic and sometimes it's not. In this particular case, I have no qualms about it. If he's going to sit up there and open fire on my team, Well, I'm going to go up after him. This is a fairly steep incline. Struggling a little bit getting this T-26 up there. This tank may have some good points, believe it or not, but hill climbing and overall speed is not one of them. Unfortunately, this slow ascent has put me in the mood to charge right in, which I should have done because he's sitting right there. I hope to kill him with the first shot, but that does not happen, and he damn near kills me. I am all kinds of screwed up, and I'm on fire. I managed to get my extinguishers activated and put myself out, but now I'm pretty badly damaged. I've got crew members that are kaput, and I'm going to end up with about a 39-second repair out of the deal. I guess it could have been a lot worse. That was just careless on my part. Well, since I have to sit here for a little bit, I realize I've got a whole bunch of anti-aircraft guns on the cliff right in front of me. So I'm going to start taking them out. I can still fire my gun, so I might as well put it to good use. I'm actually going to linger a little longer than the repair is going to take. General Stonewall starts capping here in a moment, and he's not under any immediate threat, so I decide I'm going to rack up some extra experience and money. Once I get my greed under control, several AA batteries later, I decide I should mosey over and see how Stonewall's doing. He's just about got that base capped. I kind of blunder right on out here into the open, and I see ahead of me Wonderbar Safari, which is a great name. And I decide I'm going to take him out. And I'm going to do that just as soon as well, actually, I'm just going to die. Well, at least I distracted him long enough for us to capture that base. So I jump in my third and final tank and prepare to re-enter the fray. It turns out, though, that it's fairly unnecessary. As soon as I enter the match again, first thing that happens is General Stonewall ends up taking out Wonderbar Safari before I can get there. And, you know, I just realized that that sentence that just came out of my mouth is one of those things in life that you never really expect to ever say. But there it is. This little T-26 did pretty good. I ended up with 6 NPC kills and 4 player kills out of that match, which, not bad. Unexpectedly good. I kind of surprised myself with this tank, and did okay. Even the little reserve plane that I flew, it held its own. I can't complain. Hopefully this video, although it went a little longer than I normally put out, was able to show you what to expect in the little reserve tanks and planes in the Russian line. I'm going to cover the T-60 next, which is a Battle Rating 1 tank that does not fall into the reserve category, which makes it a little unusual. It just got reclassified at Battle Ranking 1 today. Previously it had been Battle Ranking 1.3, so it got nudged down a little bit in the last patch. Well, I'm going to bring this one to a close. Thanks for taking the time to watch the video. At the very least, I hope you found it entertaining. If you did, and you'd like to see more, please consider giving it a like and pulling the trigger on the subscribe button. And if you do, comments are always welcome too. Well, no matter whether you prefer the tanks or the planes in War Thunder, no matter what game you like to play or what vehicles you like to drive, as always, folks, good hunting.